The courtroom doors swung open with a heavy thud, and there they were, my biological parents, Bradford and Meredith Harrington, striding in like they owned the place, their faces twisted in righteous indignation as they sued me for the fortune I'd inherited. The same people who'd left me on a rainy Chicago street at 5 years old because my skin was too dark for their perfect white world. My heart pounded as the judge called the case, but in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about money. It was my chance to make them pay for every tear I'd shed. My name is Whitney Harrington Elliott, and I've spent most of my 38 years piecing together a life from the fragments they shattered. Born in the bustling heart of Chicago in the late 80s, I was the unexpected result of a fleeting affair my mother had during a rough patch in their marriage. Meredith, a prim suburban housewife with dreams of PTA meetings and country club luncheons, couldn't stomach the stares when she pushed my stroller through their all-white neighborhood. Bradford, a mid-level accountant with ambitions of climbing the corporate ladder, saw me as a stain on his resume. "She's not ours," he'd hissed one night as I eavesdropped from my bedroom door, clutching my teddy bear. "People will talk. We'll never fit in." The abandonment happened on a drizzly autumn afternoon in 1992. I remember the cold seeping through my thin jacket as they bundled me into the car, promising a trip to the zoo. Instead, they pulled up to a fire station on the south side, a neighborhood worlds away from their manicured lawns in Oak Park. Meredith's hands trembled as she handed me a small backpack with a change of clothes and a note pinned to my coat. "Please take care of her. We can't." Bradford didn't even look back as they drove off, the taillights blurring in the rain. I stood there, 5 years old, watching my world vanish down the street, the wail of sirens in the distance mirroring the scream building in my chest. Foster care was a blur of temporary homes and well-meaning social workers who patted my head and whispered about mixed-race challenges. I bounced from family to family, each one seeing me as a project rather than a child. School was no better. Kids teased me for my curly hair and brown skin, calling me names that made me hide in the bathroom during recess. I learned early to toughen up, to bury the hurt under layers of determination. By 10, I'd stopped asking about my parents, convinced they were ghosts best left in the past. That's when Reginald Elliott entered my life, a widowed black entrepreneur who'd built a real estate empire from nothing, starting with flipping rundown brownstones in Bronzeville during the 70s boom. He was in his 50s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, volunteering at the group home where I'd landed. Something about my quiet resilience caught his attention. "You've got fire in you, kid," he said during our first meeting, handing me a chocolate bar from his pocket. "Don't let anyone snuff it out." He adopted me a year later, changing my last name to Elliott and moving me into his spacious Victorian home overlooking Lake Michigan. For the first time, I had stability, a bedroom with bookshelves groaning under novels by Toni Morrison and James Baldwin, family dinners where we debated politics over soul food takeout from Harold's Chicken Shack, and vacations to places like Martha's Vineyard, where Black families like ours gathered without apology. Reginald wasn't just a father, he was my anchor. He taught me to code on his old Commodore 64, sparking my interest in tech. By high school, I was interning at his company, learning the ins and outs of property development. College followed, Northwestern University on a full ride, majoring in computer science with a minor in business. Reginald beamed at my graduation, his chest puffed out as he snapped photos. "You're going places, Whitney," he'd say, "further than I ever did." We built Elliott Realty together, turning it into a multi-million-dollar firm specializing in affordable housing in underserved communities. He mentored me through late-night strategy sessions, sharing stories of his own struggles, growing up in the Jim Crow South, fighting redlining in Chicago's banks. "Family isn't blood," he'd remind me, "it's who shows up." Cancer took him too soon in 2022, after a brutal 2-year battle. I was at his bedside in Northwestern Memorial Hospital when he passed, holding his hand as the monitors flatlined. His will left everything to me, the company, the properties, liquid assets totaling $5.5 million. It was his final gift, a testament to the bond we'd forged. I grieved deeply, throwing myself into work to honor his legacy. Elliott Realty expanded under my leadership, partnering with nonprofits to revitalize neighborhoods hit hard by the pandemic. Life felt purposeful, even in the shadow of loss. Then, last summer, the letter arrived. Certified mail, stamped from a law firm in the suburbs. My hands shook as I tore it open in my high-rise office downtown, the Chicago skyline mocking my sudden vulnerability. Bradford and Meredith Harrington were suing me for the inheritance, claiming parental rights and emotional distress from years of separation. They'd tracked me down through public records after Reginald's obituary hit the papers. The audacity burned like acid. They'd abandoned me because of my race, and now, seeing the wealth I'd built with a man who actually loved me, they wanted a piece. Internal rage simmered as I paced the room, flashbacks assaulting me, the fire station steps, the foster homes, the loneliness that had shaped me into a woman who trusted few. I hired Sofia Alvarez, a sharp Latina attorney from a top loop firm known for dismantling frivolous lawsuits. Over coffee at a bustling Starbucks near the courthouse, she laid out the facts. This is weak, Whitney. Abandonment nullifies any claim. But they're banking on sympathy, painting themselves as regretful parents who made a mistake in a different era. Her words fueled my fire. Mistake?
Racism wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. I dug deeper, hiring a private investigator named Darius, a former cop with a knack for uncovering skeletons. We met in a dimly lit diner on Wabash Avenue, the sizzle of burgers in the background as he slid a folder across the table. What he found twisted my gut. Bradford and Meredith had built a comfortable life post-abandonment, 2 more kids, both white, raised in affluence. Bradford rose to CFO at a mid-sized firm. Meredith chaired charity galas for underprivileged youth, irony dripping from every press clipping. But beneath the facade, whispers of affairs, embezzlement rumors at Bradford's old job, and old neighbors recalling racist rants. One elderly woman from their block confided over the phone. They said you were a mistake from her wild days, and they couldn't have a black child ruining their image. Darius even unearthed emails from the 90s, preserved in some digital archive, where Bradford discussed discreetly relinquishing me to avoid social complications. The betrayal hit like a freight train. Not just abandonment, but calculated erasure. Nights blurred into insomnia, my mind racing in the quiet of my lakefront condo. Why now? Greed, plain and simple. Their younger son had racked up gambling debts, their daughter flunked out of college amid scandals. The $5.5 million was their bailout. But I wasn't handing it over. No, I'd turn their greed against them. The revenge plan crystallized over whiskey with my best friend, Serena, a journalist at the Chicago Tribune. We'd met in college, bonded over late-night study sessions, and shared dreams of breaking barriers. Expose them, she urged, her eyes fierce. Make it public. Let the world see who they really are. I nodded, the idea taking root. Psychological warfare, not fists, hit them where it hurt, their pristine reputation. We started subtle. Serena leaked anonymized tips to her network, planting seeds about a high-profile inheritance dispute with racial undertones. Social media buzzed. Twitter threads dissected similar stories from the era of transracial adoptions gone wrong. I fed Darius more leads, uncovering tax evasion hints in Bradford's records. Small discrepancies that, amplified, could draw IRS scrutiny. As the lawsuit dragged on, tension escalated. Depositions were brutal. In a sterile conference room under fluorescent lights, Meredith wept crocodile tears. "We were young, scared," she sobbed, avoiding my gaze. "We thought it was best for her." Bradford, stone-faced, claimed they'd searched for me years later, a lie debunked by Darius's timeline. My internal monologue raged. Best for me? You left me to the system, where kids like me faced odds stacked against us. Sophia hammered them with evidence, the abandonment note, foster records, even a psychologist's report on my childhood trauma. But I held back the big guns, letting them think they had a shot. Foreshadowing built like storm clouds. Anonymous packages arrived at their door, old photos of me as a child juxtaposed with their family portraits, whispers at their country club about that lawsuit. Bradford's boss called him in for clarifications on old expense reports Darius had nudged their way. Meredith's social world cooled. Invitations dried up. I watched from afar, satisfaction mingling with lingering pain. Was this enough, or did I risk becoming as cold as them? The climax hit in court, a packed gallery in the Dirksen Federal Building. Sophia called surprise witnesses, the fire station chief from '92, now retired, recounting the rainy day. Then Darius's bombshell, hacked emails, ethically sourced of course, revealing their racist motives in stark detail. "We can't raise a N-word child," one read, the slur hitting the room like a slap. Gasps echoed, reporters scribbled furiously. Bradford blanched, Meredith collapsed in tears, real ones this time. The judge, a stern black woman named Judge Langford, dismissed the case with prejudice, citing abandonment and fraud. "This court won't reward bigotry," she declared, her gavel a thunderclap. But my revenge wasn't done. Post-verdict, Serena's expose hit the Tribune front page. Abandoned for race, sued for riches. A Chicago family's dark secret. It went viral, picked up by CNN and MSNBC. Bradford lost his job amid the scandal. Meredith's social world crumbled. Their kids distanced themselves, shamed by the spotlight. Creditors circled as debts mounted. I didn't gloat publicly. Instead, I donated a chunk of the inheritance to a foundation for abandoned children of color, naming it after Reginald. Months later, as I stood on the balcony of my condo, watching the sun set over the lake, a sense of closure washed over me. The pain lingered, a scar rather than a wound. I'd reclaimed my story, turned their betrayal into my triumph. "Family isn't blood," Reginald had said. "It's who shows up." And in the end, I'd shown up for myself. Walking back inside, I picked up the phone to call Serena. Dinner at Gibson's? My treat. Laughter echoed through the line, a reminder that life moved on. Empowered, I faced the future, not as a victim, but a woman who had forged her own path, leaving the ghosts of the past in the dust.